Viewer discretion advised.
Rest under consent. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There is a light of all pretend every day. Each and every day.
Haile Selassie. As a mere mortal, he reigned over the nation of Ethiopia for 44 transformative years. Yet his longest-lasting legacy likely has its roots over 12,000 kilometers away. In the Jamaica of the 1930s, the Rastafari religion coalesced around the idea that Selassie was not just a powerful man, but literally God. Today, an estimated 1 million followers of Rastafarianism subscribe to this belief. Yet, who was the historical figure at the center of it all, and how did he become this religion's messiah? Born in a mud hut, Haile Selassie rose through the ranks of Ethiopia's royal family to become its last emperor. As leader, he weathered coup attempts, invasion, and resistance to his progressive reforms, only to, at last, be overthrown by his own people. Powerful, tragic, and nuanced. This is the life of Haile Selassie, Africa's King of Kings. Member of the powerful Amhara tribe, Selassie's family claimed they could trace their roots all the way back to Emperor Menelik I, himself supposedly the child of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. This meant that Selassie was also related to the current Emperor Menelik II, and you better believe this conferred certain advantages. Although he's gone down in history as Haile Selassie, the future emperor was actually born Tafari Makonnen. Like his father, he was elevated to the title of Ras or Duke. It's from the fusion of his title and name, Ras Tafari, that Rastafarianism gets its name. When Menelik II died in 1913, it was the good-looking playboy Lijiasu who replaced him, not the orphan Selassie. As with his father's death, though, Selassie would soon manage to turn this latest setback into an advantage. Iasusi had an image problem. His ancestors had been Muslim in a nation where the elite were all Christian. So, when he started making moves to desecularize society, those same elites didn't see a serious attempt to improve the lot of Ethiopia's religious minorities, but rather a diabolical plot to make them all worship Allah and stop drinking their beloved Tej. Iyasu was overthrown that September, replaced with Melanik's daughter, Zuditu. But since the idea of female rumor was almost as bad to these guys as an Islamic emperor, it was decided Zuditu needed a regent, someone who could give her reign a shot of testosterone. Care to guess who they chose? In early 1917, Selassie was appointed Zuditu's crown prince and heir apparent. Arguably, though, the most important changes were in Ethiopia's international relations. In 1923, Selassie took his country into the League of Nations, a kind of precursor to the UN, with added uselessness. To Selassie, though, the League's collective security seemed to guarantee Ethiopia's safety from colonial powers, as did his burgeoning friendship with those same powers. In 1924, he became Ethiopia's first ruler to make an international trip, traveling through Europe's great capitals and schmoozing everybody. While the stated reason for buttering up the Europeans was to encourage investment in private, Selassie was more direct, saying, "We need European progress only because we are surrounded by it." In the palace, Zuditu and her conservative allies were stewing at the reforms upending their nation. From their perspective, Selassie's improvements were more like unforgivable decadence, the beginning of Ethiopia's slide into ignominy. So, in 1928, they decided to get rid of him, only to find themselves stepping right into those lions' jaws. The September 1928 coup was such a failure that Zuditu's limited authority collapsed. In the aftermath, she was forced to proclaim Selassie Negus or King. But this title would only be a stepping stone. A year and a half after the coup, in the spring of 1930, Zuditu was found dead, apparently of complications relating to diabetes. With that, Selassie's takeover was complete. On November 2nd, 1930, the man who had been born Tafari Makonnen was crowned Ethiopia's 225th emperor. Opening on October 2nd, 1935, the Italo-Ethiopian War was short, it was grim, and it was humiliating. As Mussolini publicly declared he was on a mission to bring progress to this backwards nation, his troops unleashed chemical weapons while Italian planes dropped bombs on civilian populations. As one correspondent observed, "This isn't a war. It isn't even a slaughter. It's the torture of tens of thousands of men, women, and children with bombs and poison gas." In the face of such dirty tactics, what hope did the Ethiopians have? On May 2, 1936, Haile Selassie boarded his imperial train and was taken away into exile. 3 days later, Addis Ababa fell. In response, Winston Churchill called Selassie out of retirement, gave him the codename Mr. Strong, and flew him secretly to Khartoum with a simple goal: train up an army of resistance, invade Italy's colonies, and kick Mussolini out on his pudgy arse. It was a plan the King of Kings would carry out with extreme prejudice. When Selassie fled the oncoming storm in 1936, he'd been attacked for abandoning the people. The Great Coward is how firebrand Jamaican activist Marcus Garvey referred to him. But there was nothing cowardly about the Emperor's return. With Ethiopia now recognized as one of the Allies, the army of resistance marched on Mussolini's empire in January 1941. From a brutal occupying force, the Italians became mere paper soldiers, crumpling up and blowing away in the face of serious opposition. On May 5th, exactly 5 years after Addis Ababa fell, Italian control of Ethiopia collapsed. That day, Haile Selassie re-entered the capital in an Alfa Romeo. As the emperor stepped out onto the hot streets, he was greeted with a telegram from Churchill. "It is with deep pleasure that the British nation and empire have learned of your imperial majesty's welcome home." Not that a free Ethiopia was immediately re-established. For the rest of 1941, the country was under British administration. With Italy now defeated, Selassie approached President Roosevelt in February 1945 with a request that Eritrea be handed to him after the war. At first, Uncle Sam simply promised to think about it, but as the Hot War ended and the Cold War began, it became clear that an American-friendly port on the Red Sea could be extremely darn useful. In 1949, a joint UN Allied Powers report declared Eritrea was incapable of sustaining itself as an independent nation. 3 years later, it was joined in a federation with Ethiopia. Selassie's first major geopolitical win in this new world order. And this was an order the emperor wholeheartedly embraced. Despite his disappointments with his forerunner, Selassie took Ethiopia into the United Nations, even sending troops to help during the Korean War. This time is another story playing out there in the background, taking place at roughly the same time. The story of how Haile Selassie came to be revered as a god. Unlike our main story, this version of Selassie's tale begins in 1916, when Marcus Garvey announced to his followers, "Look to Africa for the crowning of a black king. He shall be the Redeemer." At the time, of course, Africa was mostly a patchwork of European colonies. A truly independent black king wasn't something that came along very often at all. So when Haile Selassie was crowned at a grand ceremony in 1930, it felt to many among Jamaica's poor and disenfranchised that Garvey's prophecy had come true. Over the following years, the religious teaching that Selassie was Jah incarnate began to spread over the island. Taking its name from his old title and birth name, Rastafarianism would become one of the Caribbean's great social movements, a movement turbocharged by the Italian invasion. Playing into Rastafarian concepts about Babylon, in this case colonial society, oppressing black people, the invasion became a rallying cry. When Selassie retook the throne, it only confirmed that he was the prophesied Black Messiah. This elevation in Rasta thought soon got caught up in other cultural currents swirling through Jamaica. After denouncing Selassie as a coward, Garvey changed his mind and started making Ethiopia a focal point of his Back to Africa movement. This, in turn, influenced Rastafaris until Selassie's kingdom came to be seen as the promised land of Zion. It probably helped that after World War II, Selassie had established a land grant around Shasamani village that black people from the Americas could settle.
12 tribe. Greetings in the divine name of Jesus Christ. We tell you about that divine name, who revealing the personality of Emperor Haile Selassie I.
Yes, brother. Yes, brother.
Guys, see? And the 12 tribe is not about rich and rice, but unorthodox, and through the faith of the heart. If you say orthodox, you know, say it's God and man. Two different powers, God and man. So it's two divine qualities, of a human and a divine nature.
God with the manifestation in man.
Right. Spiritual affair. So you look at the orthodoxy, our orthodox define itself. But the difference, you're looking at how that go. But they read a chapter a day, then try to read the Bible, complete Bible, within a lifetime. And 12 tribes believe in Jesus Christ. Yeah. You have to be saved through Jesus Christ. That's 12 tribes doctrine. 12 tribes, you don't have to wear locks. They say locks is not a compulsory, man free. 12 tribe, you don't have to wear locks. They say locks is not a compulsory, man free. Unlike Nyabingi, the 12 have their own rules and regulations. Guys, see? Yeah, 12 tribe. Their habits are different, but that's how they culture themselves in that form.
According to the concept of Quarantine.
According to the concept of Quarantine, straight up. 12 tribe are Dew's book. 12 tribe is an economic base, you know. of musicians and full-fledged musicians. It's an economic base, you know, of musicians and full-fledged musicians too. Because we always have to refer back to Bob Marley. Bob Marley, member of 12 Tribe. We recommend to other top musicians same way. Dennis Brown, Freddie McGregor, if you want to name a few. So maybe we just say upper class society then become 12 Tribe. It's a way for them. Upper class society then become 12 Tribe. It's a way for them. It's an economic base, you know, of musicians and full-fledged musicians. Dennis Brown.
Says it was starting now.
In the Rasta movement, that Haile Selassie is no longer with us in the physical form, what at the present day is the movement and the energy and the force that keeps the Rasta movement keep it going at this
The
point?
question is, the whole answer to the question is that Noah have three sons, Shem and Japheth, you know. And I am from Africa. His Majesty our Father. When we search and find out who his name is Jesus Christ. It's kind to modern day Bible. Seeing revealed as Jesus. So that's what I deal with. Him are the God Almighty now. So when his Majesty deal with I and I know, you know, him a deal with I and I different, like say for instance now. What is happening today? You know, and what is happening today? Who make the laws of what is happening today? I know that some of them die from 18th century, but the people them still run off of the same 18th century guy. You hear me say? No, you know, His Majesty different. His Majesty a God Almighty. What am I showing you so now? This image worship.
King Solomon was known to have many magical rings, including one that was said to be given to him directly by Archangel Gabriel. It was said to have the power to banish away evil jinn. King Solomon always had close ties to Ethiopia, as he and the Queen of Sheba had a son together, Menelik. Flash forward to 1930, Haile Selassie became Ethiopia's 225th and final emperor. He was of the Solomonic dynasty, a direct blood relative of Solomon and Sheba. Nearby in Jamaica, it was widely believed that Haile Selassie was the King of Kings and true Messiah. From this belief, the Rastafarian movement was created. Bob Marley was an outspoken preacher of Haile's wisdom and legacy. After Haile's untimely death in 1975, it is said that Haile's children gifted Bob Marley their father's ring, which was said to be made of fragments of King Solomon's ring and to hold magical powers. Although Bob's family claimed they returned the ring to the Selassies after Bob's death, many people believe that the Marleys are still in possession of the ring.
Star Bob Marley, Rita Marley, and the manager of the Whalers, Don Taylor, are now patients in the University Hospital after receiving gunshot wounds during a shooting incident which took place at Marley's home at 56 Hope Road.
On December the 3rd, 1976, at around 8:30 p.m, 2 carloads of assassins drove into Bob Marley's Tough Gong headquarters at 56 Hope Road in Kingston, Jamaica, and opened fire. Bob Marley and the Whalers were rehearsing for the Smile Jamaica concert due to be held on the 5th of December. According to Tyrone Downey, the Whalers' keyboardist at the time, they were rehearsing the song I Shot the Sheriff when the gunmen began shooting in the area the band were rehearsing. Bob had actually stepped out at the time while the horn players worked out their parts. The gunmen went around the building shooting wildly, leaving dozens of bullet holes in the walls. Downey said at one point he saw just a hand reach around the door of the room they were sheltering in and start firing shots blindly. Bob was shot twice. One bullet grazed across his chest while the other lodged in his arm just above his elbow. Rita Marley had a gunshot wound to her head, and Don Taylor, the band's manager, was shot 5 times in the chest and legs. One other person was also shot, but there were no fatalities. The reason for the attempt on Bob's life seemed obvious. The Smile Jamaica concert had become highly politically charged. Shortly after the concert was announced, elections were scheduled for the 15th of December, just 10 days after the concert. Both the incumbent administration, the Democratic Socialist PMP led by Michael Manley, and the more conservative JLP led by Edward Seaga, wanted Bob Marley to endorse them. Bob wanted to remain neutral but recognised something needed to be done to quell the political violence that was happening in Jamaica at the time. He felt a concert would be an ideal event to achieve this. Who exactly arranged the hit on Bob Marley is unknown. Some say the CIA were involved as part of their ongoing efforts to destabilise the socialist Jamaican government and prevent what they described as another Cuba. Others believed it was Edward Seaga in the JLP acting alone. They feared that Bob Marley was going to endorse Michael Manley, and they wanted to stop this from happening. Nancy Burke, Bob's neighbour, remembered hearing the Wailers percussionist Alvin Patterson shouting, "It's Seaga's men, come for kill Bob!" Apparently he had recognised one of the shooters as Lester Coke, aka Jim Brown, co-founder of the notorious Shower Posse, and Edward Seaga's bodyguard. Despite the assassination attempt, Bob was determined the concert would go ahead. 2 days later he performed, with the bullet still lodged in his arm.
It's like the vision said, don't run. You know, it's like, you know, this gunshot is like something that the vision said, don't run, stand up. So when the gunshot started firing on Hope Road, the first thing come back to my mind was the vision. And all I could remember is that the vision said, don't run. And so me have to stand up, you know. And, you know, them fire until I was tired of fire, and then Chew is not really a lawful gun battle. Man start to run and it ease up, you know.
Where were you hit?
Eh?
Where were you hit?
Me? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Went right through? Or just skinned
No,
it?
I'm said lodge inside there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You never saw the gunman?
Well, at that time, no.
But you know who did it?
You ever know them?
Were they caught?
No, but I don't court the police. It's just, you know, one of them things.
You know, so what, I got shot, I'm cool though. I don't have any scars. I don't have any scars. My hands could both go up, everything is still cool. Was it tough recovery? Nope. Was it tough recovery? Nope. Sure wasn't. I was walking around. You know, so what, I got shot, I'm cool though. I don't have any scars. I don't have any scars. My hands could both go up, everything is still cool. Was it tough recovery? Nope. Was it tough recovery? Nope. Sure wasn't. I was walking around.
Montel. 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 Montel.
I'm Jamaican with the big blood Jamaican tool. I'm Jamaican and I give you a Jamaican screw. Well, I walk into the party, grab a lady and get naughty.
My name Bob Marley.
Arianism is the use of marijuana as a central part of the philosophy. Officially named ganja, it's colloquially described by the Rastas as herb, and Bob Marley is said to smoke a pound a week. It's outlawed in Jamaica, and a convicted smoker can expect an 18-month jail sentence.
Do you have to smoke to be a Rasta?
No, man. But in this time, I mean, like, for instance, you're reaching a sense where you're strong enough, can take a little smoke. So when all them car pass, although you live in the city, you don't hear it because you're thinking.
Welcome back to Montel. Today we're talking to survivors of unimaginable abuse. We're gonna hear Janice's story in 1 second. First, I just want to say something. As you may or may not already know, I am a very vocal advocate for the legalization of medical marijuana. I think if used appropriately and responsibly, it can help a whole lot of people. Blah, 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 blah. That being said, I want to pass around this petition, please. Just sign it, pass it on your left-hand side. That'd be great. Really appreciate that. On to Janice. Janice.
Hi, Montel.
Janice. Janice, what happened to you? You know, let's start at the beginning. You're living in Kansas City.
That's right, Montel. I was waitressing in Kansas City when I married my husband Hal in September of '87, but the abuse didn't start until about...
Now, I don't know if you people... I don't know if you can really begin to understand what this... I mean, I can't imagine why someone would want to abuse... I just... It's not part of my mentality. I don't understand how this person took another person. Sorry, and you... I just don't understand how it... Tell us what happened.
Okay, well, in about October of 1988...
Wow.
About October of 1988, my husband began to physically and emotionally abuse me. And...
Wow, that is some good stuff. Now, Maria...
Janice.
Just tell me what happened next? What happened next?
What happened next? I'm having a hard time remembering.
It's all right. Take your time. It's hard talking about this kind of thing.
Right. He would tie me up to the dog and take me into the basement.
I'm sorry. That is not... I don't know what's funny. That's not funny at all. That's not funny. Oh, all right. But you said, go on with your story.
Well, he would tie me up to the dog and...
That's it. It's the tying up to the dog. That's absurd. That's ridiculous.
He would leave me there, and there was one time that the only food I had to eat was a piece of cheese from a mouse trap, and I had to fight a mouse for a piece of cheese one time. Well, I was fighting the mouse for the piece of
Montel. 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 Montel.
Thank you.